Welcome to the Racing Nuggets podcast. I'm PJ Noodleman, joined by my co-host Dan Plan from the Midwest Racing Connection. Hello, Dan.
Hello, good to be here again.
We have had one heck of a lineup of people going back to just recently Kenny Schrader, Toby Noodleman. Well, I have an in with him, so that worked out. And then we also had Ben Rhodes, and now we have Ty Majeski joining us tonight. Hey, Ty, thanks for coming on.
Great to be on. It's been a long time coming. I've been watching all these podcasts, all these people. I'm like, when am I going to get the invite for this thing?
You and Toby, same thing. I was kind of saving you two in my pocket for when I didn't have somebody lined up because I figured you guys would be a quick one that would be like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. But it turns out we
More
weren't really,
backup plans, basically.
well, in a nice way, in a
Yeah,
nice
okay.
way. But I knew I could count on you. I just wanted to say, I know that this last season for you in the trucks didn't turn out exactly like you wanted. You had a lot of curveballs thrown at you. But I will say, listening to you on the radio, because I have the NASCAR app and I listen to it, you maintain your cool way better than anybody I've ever heard on a radio. I've never heard you just like totally lose your stuff. I mean, you stay cool. How do you stay cool when
Well,
things like
apparently
that happen?
you weren't listening to the radio in Nashville after we went into turn one and all wrecked in the oil. Definitely had a Johnny Sauter moment there. But no, yeah, it doesn't do any good usually to lose your cool on the radio. I don't know. That's just I've never been one to really have a short temper. So just stay even keeled and try and corral everybody together, even when things aren't maybe going the best. And that's your best shot at turning the ship around. So we're all doing the best that we can. And there's no doubt in my mind about that. And it just my way of kind of corralling the troops has always been to like I said, just keep an even emotion and try and explain what's wrong with the truck or what's wrong with the situation and just try and get better. Like if my pit crew messes up on pit road, hey guys, is there anything that I did wrong? Or, so just little things like that. Just at the end of the day, we win as a team and we lose as a team, and that's something that I go by.
You guys are kind of rebuilding here as you, excuse me, get set for the 2024 season. And by rebuilding, I mean, kind of getting a new team assembled, basically. Some people move on, some people go over to a different team within ThorSport, what have you. But how are you feeling about that as things start to kind of come together for the 2024 season?
Well, ThorSport has a really good core group of people leading the respective positions or areas of ThorSport. So we have really good crew chiefs. We have really good truck chiefs that most are pretty local to Sandusky. And, they've been there a long time. So, like I said, we have a really good core group. And sometimes the pieces underneath them rotate a little bit. So you have your tire guys and your interior guys and guys like that tend to rotate a little bit more at ThorSport. Just everyone's kind of on a different path, right? Some of them are coming in from late models, and their aspirations are to be on a cup team. So ThorSport is a good stepping stone to that because maybe it's not all the way to North Carolina, say if they're from Wisconsin. So and there's been a lot of great people, a lot of great crew members that have come out of ThorSport. I think Kyle Larson's team, Cup team, they just took one of our crew chiefs, Brian Ross. I think like five of their current team are from ThorSport. So a lot of we do a good job at grooming kids and training them to. I mean, obviously, we want them to stay as long as they want to, but yeah, some of them want to move on, and that's just kind of the part of the blueprint, I guess, at ThorSport.
What's it like working with Duke Thorson? He seems like quite the colorful character.
Character, yeah. If you guys follow him on Twitter, he's a character to follow for sure.
I do.
Um, Duke is great. Honestly, he's a down to earth guy, fun to hang around with, right? There's pretty few real serious conversations that we have. Usually our time together is just honestly just talking about racing and business and whatever else. So we have our eat when I'm at ThorSport, we have our nights that we go to the same restaurant each day of the week. So Monday nights is usually Italian night, and then Tuesday night is Taco Tuesday. We get margaritas and Mexican and go back to his hangar. And then Thursday night is pizza night. So we just kind of have go to the same restaurant each night of the week that I'm there, and kind of get a bunch of David Pepper and some of the crew chiefs and which other drivers are in town, and we just go and have a good time. Honestly, it's just a great culture that he's built up there, and I love being a part of it.
You mentioned David Pepper. He actually played a pretty big role in you actually landing at ThorSport, didn't he?
So Pepper and I worked together way back in the Rulo brother days. So in 2016, when I ran three or four ARCA races for the Rulo brothers, Pepper actually spotted for me for those races. So when I got let go of my duties at Nice, um, I uh, I just called Pepper out of the blue, and he's like, "Listen, we don't really have any room for you right now." And I'm like, okay. He goes, well, when you're coming by, just stop in and I'll give you a tour of the shop. I'm like, okay. I really wasn't going by. I just drove up there the next week right away. I definitely wasn't on the way home. But you just never know. So I went there, toured the shop, and he took me by Duke's office. Got to meet with him for 20 or 25 minutes. And I think then Duke had a little bit more of an eye on me, and he knew of me. He knew I raced with Johnny Sauter, which is one of his longtime drivers. And so he knew my name and stuff. And shortly after that, we went and won the Snowball Derby. And then Duke texted Hedleski shortly after we won the Snowball, like minutes after we won the Snowball, to my knowledge, and told Hedleski to hire me. So they reached out with an offer, and that originally wasn't actually a driving offer. It was an engineering position, and decided to take the leap.
Love it. I love it. I've often thought, and obviously I get to hear more about things that happen in your career because of Toby. Um, but I've often thought that it would make a really good book at some point to kind of talk about your whole journey because people, I don't want to say on the outside because it makes it sound like we're all insiders, but people on the outside looking in don't know half of the shit that you have had to deal with in order to get that opportunity. Things that went wrong or sideways at different organizations that you had no control over. And people don't know half of that stuff that basically undermined your ability to perform your very best. You know what I'm referring to here, but I don't know if it's something you're open talking about it at this point yet or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is pretty open knowledge at this point. I'm in a position where I haven't been able to pave an easy path for myself at hand chosen race teams, because I have a checkbook, right? So I've had to take. I'm not saying that they were bad opportunities, but there were certainly better places to go at any time, right? And I had to take the opportunities that were presented to me because I simply couldn't make them on my own. So I don't regret any of the things that I did because I'm a strong believer in everything happens for a reason. And I learned a lot through I'll call them failures because I don't know of any other word, but I don't think they were failures, but I think everybody expected us to run better than what we did through those different opportunities. So I learned a lot. I learned how to deal with people. I learned how to, work in the ranks of NASCAR and the political things that go into maneuvering different people and race teams in different positions. And I got to, and I ran across a lot of people that I probably don't care to work with anymore, but I've also gained a lot of lifelong friends along the way. And there's been a lot of people that have helped me fill those gaps in those opportunities that didn't work out. Obviously, my late model guys, right? Toby, Chris, Craig, Banks, that's the, Brad Manstead, Todd Nagel. Those are the core group of guys that really, even though I wasn't performing at a high level at different times in my NASCAR career, on that side of things, I was always performing and winning races in the late model. And that program is truly something that kept me afloat through when I wasn't running well at Nice and Roush. And the other one would be Chad Bryant. When Roush shut their doors down in 2018, closed down their Xfinity program. Alongside winning late model races, he gave me an opportunity to run 6 ARC races that year, and we were able to win 3 of them, and that propelled me into my next opportunity with Nice. And then obviously we failed at Nice, and then I was still winning late model races throughout 2020, won the Snowball Derby, and then that propelled me to ThorSport where I am today. So it's just crazy going back and thinking about those different situations and those people that help fill those gaps and sort of keep me afloat, so to speak, and just to propel me into the next opportunity.
I am astounded though at how you have been able to rebound, and it's probably because your drive is this is what you want to do. You are all in and committed to doing this, so you don't give up.
Well, I go to bed thinking about how to make race cars faster and turn better and the whole thing. I never stop thinking about it, whether it's setups on iRacing or late models or trucks or whatever. I mean, you know how much I talk to Toby. I mean, we talk probably 3, 4, 5 times a week, especially during the race season, probably even more than that. So we're always trying to be better. We're always trying to come up with the next best idea. And I really enjoy motorsports in general and the mechanical side of race cars. That's something that in the beginning of my Toby tenure, I didn't really know much at all. And now maybe I know too much at times. But Toby and I have a great time together, and it's I don't know. I just love racing, love what I'm doing right now. Love racing late models and for ThorSport, it's a dream come true right now.
I like what you're saying about the Roush days because I know I had a number of my friends that were thinking, wow, that's a bad deal. And it's like, well, I think everybody in the sport knew that Roush, the Xfinity program, wasn't at the level that it had been when you got your opportunity. And I don't think it was gonna it didn't hurt you in any means by running that. Like you said, it got you the opportunity to be into NASCAR and be exposed to other people within the sport. And it ended up being a good opportunity. It just didn't everybody kind of knew that that operation wasn't what it was.
Yeah, NASCAR it's interesting because it's all about timing, right? And perception. Um, when you take an opportunity, and I've learned this over the years, right? And Ross Chastain is a great example at this. And I'm not taking anything away from his driving ability because he can wheel, right? But he was very, very good at looking at maybe at the time par opportunities. And he saw them either investing or creating an alliance or building new cars or maybe taking a certain crew chief in that was going to help turn the program around, and he was able to land himself in some really good opportunities, and people perceived him as, hey, he's taking this 25th place truck, and all of a sudden the guy's running eighth with it, which maybe wasn't that exact case, but he saw the writing on the wall. He's like, okay, this team has been running here. They're about to elevate their program, whether a sponsor, get new trucks, an alliance, whatever. And it made him look like he was elevating that truck 25 spots. Well, I'm not saying that he wasn't a part of it and didn't elevate the truck at all, but it's not. I mean, I don't know that if you put Kyle Busch in a 30th place truck that he's going to go and run top 10 with it. It's just it's a lot of equipment related, and Ross has done a really good job at people, having people perceive him as that. And I was at the wrong timing of some opportunities that I took, and it made people maybe perceive me as the opposite of that. So it's all about timing, getting with the right people and the right equipment at the right time. And it's hard to do when you don't have a checkbook to go with it. So when you do get those opportunities, you have to make sure you make them count.
Yeah, luck is such a huge role in having success.
It is. It's about being at the right place at the right time. I mean, I go back to 2013 at Oktoberfest when Frog built a car, bought one of Jeff Storm's old left-handers. Toby cut it up and did his thing to it, right? We put his touch on an old left-hander, and we went to Oktoberfest that year. And Brad Manson was there in the pits, and he had aspirations of building a race team. He didn't know who his driver was going to be at that point, and Toby had a couple different drivers at the time, me being one of them, and Toby and I were working really hard on how to make race cars faster, and some of the other drivers he was with at the time were in the trailer on their phones. So Brad decided to build the race team around me, and it's just crazy how one little thing that maybe didn't happen alters your entire career. So there's just you never know who's watching over the years that I've been around racing. You never know whose hand you're shaking. Try and treat everybody with respect because you just never know who's watching.
For sure. You mentioned Toby now several times, and you also have Joe Shear. And I know I've asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you again on here because I want it to be on here. If you could combine, actually, I've asked you something like this. If you could combine the best features of Toby and Joe into one person, what would those features be from
Boy,
each
that's
of
an
them?
interesting question. Because they're a lot alike. They really are. They're two old school guys. I think, yeah, that is tough. They both have a lot of the same qualities. They really do, right? They're both guys who grew up in racing, and that is not saying that's all they know, but their life revolves around it. And they both have the passion, and like Joe is like Joe is so into making trucks faster. I mean, he goes to bed thinking about it. He thinks about it all the time, as does Toby. I don't know that there's a trait that I want to pull from one or the other because I think they're both a good balance of who they are. And I feel like if I took some of Joe's traits and put them on Toby, then Toby wouldn't be Toby. You know what I mean? So Toby is a laid back, old school guy who doesn't care to have any of the credit. And even though he deserves almost all of it, right? So Joe is a little bit more like, hey, I've been here, I've done this, I've won these races. Like, I got the best truck at the racetrack, right? So that's the probably the biggest difference between the two of them. And I think if you could somehow combine a middle ground between, how modest Toby is and I don't want I don't know the right way to explain Joe, but he's confident, right? So if you could combine, you know, the confidence of Joe and mix it with Toby, I think that would be ideal.
Yeah, I don't know if I would like Tobe if he had that kind of swagger either. Because
You know
I
what?
kind
That's what makes Joe Joe. He does not care, right? That we have four teams at ThorSport, right? So we have a lot of different, crew chiefs and personalities come in, and there's a lot of people that are worried about what each other do. And right, I've been an engineer there, right? So I see everybody's models. I know what their setups are, and I'm like, hey Joe, the 99 is doing this week. And he's like, I don't give a what they're doing. I don't care what they're doing. I only care about the 98 truck. I don't care. I'm like, okay. So he's just so confident in what he's doing, and he's got that swagger about him. And he just he's Joe, and he's like I said, he's especially on the NASCAR side, he's the smartest guy I've ever been around in NASCAR, and it's not really even close. Just the amount of knowledge he has, and like I said, that's what gives him his swagger. That's what makes him Joe, and I wouldn't change a thing about him.
That's cool. I like that. You have a personal life, obviously, that you try to intersperse with all of the racing as well too. You recently got married to Allie, and you guys kind of did it on the down low. It was like a really private ceremony. And some people might be like, well, why did they do that? To me, I think it's kind of cool because you kind of live your life on display. And to do that in a private way, to me, it just kind of holds it sacred in my mind. I don't know. Was that the reasoning why y'all did it that way?
Well, honestly, we not neither of us like the spotlight. I'm not one to like, have the spotlight on me. Even though it's part of being a NASCAR driver, I guess. I don't like it. And she doesn't either. So we are both like, getting some anxiety over what our wedding day was gonna be. And we've been together now for a long time. And we've been through a lot together, right? She's been through all the ups and downs of my NASCAR career, and it's people that are in racing know that it's not just a job or a profession. It's literally a way of life, and things happen so last minute all the time. Oh, I got to go here for simulator. I got to go to Charlotte for media day, or for whatever reason, right? It's just a lot of last minute, and it's hard to plan things. And we finally knew we had an open weekend after Martinsville this year, and we just wanted to get it over with and do it. I know I wouldn't change how we did it, right? There's a lot of work that goes into planning weddings, and they're expensive. And we just thought that it would be the best to just do it and get it done. And just one less thing that we had to stress over and worry about.
Or spend a pile of money on it too. That was good to save.
That too.
If you would have planned it, you might have had Jacqueline and TMZ paparazzi showing up too. So
No. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to, Ty, that say, I get it, Majeski can drive, but that kid doesn't have a personality. And I say, why do you think that? Have you actually spent time with him? And I don't know if it's because people expect personalities to be gregarious and out there and drinking and doing all kinds of stupid, crazy shit, or what it is. But I've seen you do some fun stuff. I do know you have a personality, but you're kind of reserved about that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, when I'm at the racetrack, that I take that as my profession, right? And I don't. If you haven't noticed, there's been a lot of people with some pretty polarizing personalities that have gotten themselves in trouble lately within our sport. So honestly, with just the way social media is, and when you say things, it can get perceived wrongly. And I don't know. I've just always been the guy to, just be down low. And yeah, I get it. I'm probably a little vanilla on my interviews and stuff, but honestly, my focus is going to the racetrack and making my race car be as fast as it can be and being the best I can be behind the wheel. I don't really care about how many followers I have on Twitter, how many likes my post got. I really could care less about that. I'm down to business when I'm at the racetrack. It's all about me being the best I can be and helping make my race car go as fast as it can go. And that's always the way my mindset that I've had at the racetrack. And I don't see that changing either, honestly.
I I find it, yeah, like it's hard to believe that you don't have a personality because I've gotten to meet Chris and Craig a couple of times through Jacqueline,
Yeah.
and I find it hard to believe that Chris and Craig would hang out with somebody that doesn't have a personality because I've met them before, but they're like you said, they're at the racetrack, they're busy, they're doing their job, so I usually don't have time to talk to them. But she's brought me over to the shop a couple of Oktoberfest weekends on Sunday night after wins, and it's a pretty good time down there.
We have a lot of fun together, and that's something that I always try and keep in mind when I'm going to the racetrack. And at the end of the day, you're going there to have fun, especially at the late model level, right? We're down to business, and but you got to have fun together. I mean, some of those nights in Pensacola,
Oh my
we're up
God.
late. I mean, it gets pretty wild. We have a lot of fun, and honestly, late model racing to me really used to be right and not that it isn't a priority. I used to take it super serious. And now that I'm settled into the truck series a little bit and I've kind of found a home with ThorSport, I'm a little bit looser on the late model scene now. I used to, be very, don't drink at all, this, just very down to business. And, but now we tend to have a good time now, on the late model side. So it's something I enjoy. We have a lot of fun doing it, and it's also fun winter races too.
Well, that's
Fireball.
something too. I don't think people realize that it is still a lot of work too. Like I know after the Bigley race, they loaded up and drove all through the night to get to Pensacola. And then after the Derby, those guys loaded up and started driving home. And I think it was after the Joe Shear Classic, you were driving home, right? After the race, you didn't hop into a helicopter or a jet and fly away. You were in your car driving home.
Well, I drive all over the place. I got my Ford vehicle in May, and I've well surpassed 30,000 miles. So I put the miles on. I typically don't like to fly, but there's been a lot of times where, like you mentioned, Madison. The night before that, I was racing in Kansas. Drove through the night to make it to the Joe Shear Classic with no practice on Saturday, obviously, and were able to win the race. So I'm a whatever it takes type guy. When I was full time at ThorSport, or full time engineer at ThorSport in 2021, but we were also chasing the ARCA Midwest Tour at the time for points. There was numerous times where I'd get done with Slinger Nationals on a Tuesday night. I'd get in the truck and drive back because that was my day job. I Duke let me go and race whenever I wanted to and take off, however amount of days I needed to do so. But I don't know, I guess I was just a company guy. So been a lot of nights where I got done racing on a Tuesday or a Sunday and I just drove straight back, just because I felt like it was the right thing to do, right? Duke was giving me an opportunity to be an engineer and run some races there. And I felt like I owed it to him to put in as much effort as I could at making sure I was there doing my job.
How hands-on are you now that you're not necessarily required to be there as much, but how hands-on are you with setups and everything that you want into the truck?
Well, Joe and I talk about, just about every day when I'm not there, as Toby and I do when I'm not with Toby. So, yeah, I spend a lot of time on the phone. Joe and I work really well together, right? When a setup goes into the truck, I certainly have say in what goes into it, as does he. Just like Toby and I, right? We talk for a day or two or three or more than that on what we're going to go with to the racetrack, whatever the next race is. So, I love being involved in it. We come up with a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool ideas. Joe and I do working in sim, looking at the load profiles of the racetracks and trying to figure out how to make the truck, turn as good as it can turn and still carry grip. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it. It's so cool to be heavily involved in simulation. It's come such a long way over the course of even my NASCAR career, and what you can do with simulation now, and how you can refine setups and packages before you show up to the racetrack is just amazing. I have 100% confidence when I go into turn one at Kansas that I can hold it wide open and I don't have to think twice about it. You just do it. And because you have that much confidence in me, I know what is in the truck, and right, I've seen it run in the simulator and in simulation, and I pretty much know what to expect when I go into turn one in real life. And I know that sounds crazy, but um, I have all the confidence in the world that the truck is going to work when I enter turn one for the first time, not feeling it before. So it's just crazy how far the technology side of NASCAR and racing in general has come.
Well, you actually do the measurements now for the sim, don't you? On the
I
truck?
used to, yeah. So I used to measure all the parts. So each and every part would come across my desk. I'd scan it, put it into the database. So basically, every spindle, control arm, truck arm, literally everything that had to do with the suspension and geometry of the race truck was scanned. And basically, you could take each of those parts had a part number, and I could take each part, each individual spindle, and put it on the very truck that we were racing. And yeah, it's amazing what you can do. Every spring is, rated. Everything is, I mean, you have what you're going to the racetrack with is the identical to the, 10,000th of an inch of what you have in real life. It's just amazing.
I'm just going to say this now because I brought it up before, but measurements weren't always accurate at previous places you were at, correct?
Well, yeah, that's a loaded question. Yeah,
But you
there's
were not
certainly
in
been
charge
some
of
things that
that.
haven't gone my way. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. I won't make you go down that road, but that's just one of those things that for me, obviously, and Toby, we are rooting for you all the time. And so for me, knowing what I know, that just kind of
It's
stuck
it's
in
just
my craw.
amazing that if you have, somebody can make one little mistake, and it's just so much better, and in everybody's defense, when I was in that position, um, I didn't know enough at that time to be able to say, hey, this is wrong. And now being at ThorSport and, being a hands-on engineer and really truly understanding what goes into making trucks go fast. It's just been a huge. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm really glad that I was able to really be an engineer and be hands-on at ThorSport for a year because I really think it's made me better, a better driver and better at giving Joe feedback and really understanding what's in these trucks. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Cool. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And I'll note right now, we are recording this prior to Christmas, even though it's going to air um, in January. But you are very active in fantasy football. So by this time this thing airs, we're going to be getting down to like the playoffs. But I've never seen anybody as dialed in to what their fantasy team is doing. When we were down in Pensacola watching those games, you were like on it with what you had, who got you points. And I don't know if everybody is that way in fantasy football, but you seemed a bit fanatical about it. I don't know. You're very
Yeah,
dialed in on that.
yeah, it's a bad deal. Yeah, it's really bad actually. Yeah, I get into it. I get into it pretty heavily. Um, Yeah, just like anything else, you get out of it what you put into it. And I will say from experience that no, most people probably aren't like that. Yeah, what I know, and if you just mentioned a random player, I could tell you whose team they're on in our league just like that. It's bad. But you know what? It's fun, not manipulating, but working people and trading and like planning ahead with bye weeks and injuries and different situations on teams. And you have to be on it when you're paying attention to what's going on. You can stay ahead of the game, and sometimes you can catch somebody that's not quite up to speed on what's going on and take advantage of it.
Are you, would you call yourself a perfectionist?
I don't know. It depends on what we're talking about. Allie would probably argue that no, there are things that I'm not a perfectionist about.
Like what? Like what?
Well, I don't know. Just I don't know, just stuff around the house, honestly. She does a great
Okay.
job at keeping the household intact and keeping the house clean. So yeah, there's things that I really focus on, and when I choose to focus on them, that's what I do. So maybe I'm a perfectionist in the things that I want to be.
Yeah, no wonder you and Toby get along so well. He's
Yeah.
the same freaking way. Yeah, he's exactly that same way. Snowmobiling is something I imagine you and Toby are going to be ending up doing as well this winter if we get enough snow. And now that you're living up in Wisconsin, that's where your residency is. Do you plan to do some of that if there is enough snow?
Yeah, it's funny when I landed this deal at ThorSport, like, man, I just can't get injured. I have an issue on a snowmobile that when I get on it, I treat it like it's a race car. So I'm push the limits every corner, and I literally can't control myself. I just have to do it. So honestly, I've just not done it for 2 years because I was getting out of control with, making adjustments to the snowmobile and trying to get it to turn better and the whole thing. You just take that racer's mentality into it. So honestly, I haven't done it. But I'm a couple years older now, so I'm gonna have to try going again this year and see if I can control myself and snowmobile in a safe manner.
Well, Toby says your dad is the governor in that
He's the
regard.
governor, but he is passable, and I pass him a lot. I just drive around him and then catch the next group of people and start passing them too. It's just, yeah, it's bad. People don't get too happy with that when they get passed on the trail when you're like just with some recreational drivers. So, yeah, they don't like that too much.
That's hilarious. Dan, do you have other questions? I feel like I've monopolized quite a
I've
bit.
got like old nerd stuff. So I know you started out in kart racing, right? And that
Yes,
was
correct.
dirt,
Yep, dirt oval.
dirt oval. Did you ever run the road course in Shawano?
So I ran the oval. That's a part of that road course. So that's USA International, I think it's
Yeah.
called. I ran 1 year there. It's a really odd oval. But yeah, I ran there for points 1 year. We won a championship there. Probably 2007. And Yeah, I have a little bit of asphalt experience, but I never did run road course stuff at all. So it was all a little bit of asphalt oval, but primarily dirt oval.
And did you ever run weekly at Kokana since that was probably closest to your home back then?
I didn't know. I ran most races there in 2013 when I ran with Mike Butts there. Simultaneously, I was running at lacrosse part time for Toby and the guy Chris Craig in lacrosse. But no, I never did run Kakana full time.
I was always envious of the people in Seymour, probably like in the mid late 90s because they had, you could Connor ran Thursdays, and then I think it was Anago ran Fridays, see Shawano on Saturday, and Seymour on Sunday. So that was quite the hotbed of racing back then. And I think they still do have a pretty good following up that way.
Yeah, they do. The dirt oval scene up here is really, really good. There's a couple dirt oval go-kart tracks up here that I grew up racing at, and then a ton of dirt oval stock car tracks. IMCA modified sport mods are huge up here. You go to a local event, there's 35, 40 of those things, 4 days a week. It's actually phenomenal what that division is up here. So yeah, it's cool. I don't get to go to them too much. But some of Allie's cousins are heavily involved on the dirt modified scene up here.
Cool.
Did you know you always wanted to be a race car driver? Or when did you know? When did the light switch flip and be like, you know what? I think this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, growing up, really, even before I started racing, I just always enjoyed motorsports. My dad was a big NASCAR fan growing up, and obviously introduced me to it. We always watched the Cup races on Sundays and the truck races, and yeah, it's just something that I've grew up loving. Even when I was a young kid, just playing NASCAR games on the computer. NASCAR Heat was my first game. Dirt to Daytona was another big one. I mean, I spent hours on that thing, just running laps at all these racetracks that who knew years later I'd get to run on in real life. It's actually pretty cool to look back and think about how big of a fan I was of the sport, and now to be a little part of it is pretty cool.
It's kind of been a running joke about your setup for iRacing. Have you upgraded that yet, or are you still using the rolls of duct tape and a little fan in the old laptop?
The old fans right here, actually, I have it set up. I'm on my iRacing unit right here. I actually had to unclip the wheel, otherwise there'd be a steering wheel that came over here, so I had to pull it off the desk. So yeah,
That would have,
same
you
old
should have
setup.
left it. That would have been awesome. Like we're talking to while you're driving.
Yeah, so I travel a lot still. So for people that iRace know, when you get used to a certain steering wheel or a pedal combination or even the screen you're looking at, if I had a full-blown sim rig here that had a big TV and expensive steering wheel and all this stuff, and then I went to Sandusky for whatever a week or two, and then I hooked up my old G27 and with a laptop, you just wouldn't be very good. You just have to get used to something and stick with it. I did upgrade my laptop, so it can pretty much run every track with the max amount of cars. So I did upgrade my laptop, spent some money on that, but still running off a G27 wheel and pedals that I bought used like probably 12 years ago now. So yeah,
I
Nice.
crazy.
love that.
I actually bought my steering wheel from Bud Collar. He's the racing electronics guy with the hauler that drives around all the different racetracks. I actually bought it from him used in like 2010. So it's crazy.
I love that. I think that that's actually encouraging for any kids who might be watching this to know that you don't have to have a rig or anything like that. You can do it in a cheap way and make it work and be successful.
The biggest thing is just using something and not changing it. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to go buy this wheel or this pedal set and they're going to pick up time. It just doesn't work like that. You just have to get used to one pedal and wheel combination and stick with it. That's how you'll stay consistently, get fast and stay consistently fast.
I
Slinger,
know at
fine.
one,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say at one time, didn't weren't you ranked like first and second in iRacing? Did you have two accounts or
Yeah, I
something?
had two accounts. Yeah. I'd have to look. The guy I was battling with for number one, he I think he must have wrecked out in a race recently. So I wasn't number one for a while, but I think I retained it again. So, but I don't race too much anymore. Honestly, I just get on there and hang out with my buddies and Kraus and Riley Stenjem and Brian Tedeschi spots for us. We have a lot of fun on there. So honestly, I just build setups for the guys and watch them go and race. And I don't race too much anymore, myself anymore.
That's cool though. iRacing recently just debuted Slinger. Have you had some fun on that, it looked like?
Slinger is they did a phenomenal job on Slinger. It is amazing. Just I mean, for people that know Slinger, they have that concrete patch that they just paved in 3 and 4. They even have that on the racetrack on iRacing. It's the bumps, the way the banking transitions, like off of two, there's a heavy load up spot. Just all the characteristics of it. They did a phenomenal job. You can even go to the concession stand and look at their prices. It's on there. You can zoom in on it. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. They go all out with these scans now. It's crazy.
I wonder if they got Margetta on the roof.
Somebody made a joke of that they had the Margetta cam and there's footage from Margetta's.
That's cool. I love him. Do you think that they'll ever do Rockford Speedway for iRacing? There was a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
hope for that.
I don't know what they do or how they do it anymore. I know years ago there was a price that the track had to pay to have the track scanned, but that was pre-COVID. iRacing's come a long way, so I'm not really sure how they're doing that anymore. Obviously, it would be cool to get it scanned to preserve it at least online. Yeah, it's sad to see any racetrack close down, especially a place that has the history of Rockford. Sure would be cool to preserve it on iRacing.
What
Speaking of
was, go ahead.
Rockford, I was I think um, Spring Classic. That was probably your first breakthrough win in a late model. Would that be accurate?
So it was actually for short track. It was the Big Eight
Short
race
track.
at short track in yeah, in September. Yeah, big win. Obviously, Rockford is a hard place to pass at. So I think we qualified at 11th or 12th, 13th, somewhere in there, got inverted to the pole. Actually, on the initial start, I got beat. I think it was Kyle Shear on the outside of me. He beat me on the initial start, and he got the lead. They called the start back, and I got the lead the next time, and then I led the whole rest of the race. I remember I had numerous efforts to be passed. I know Wilberg was a little aggressive at times in that race, if I remember correctly. Jeremy Miller was in second for a while, and Steve Rubeck as well. So there's a lot of cool names that were in that race. That those are guys that I looked up to at that time, right? Those at least Jeremy Miller and Rubeck were on Pathfinder chassis, which was the chassis that I was on, and they ran so well everywhere they went, and I looked up to those guys, so it was cool to beat them. And I think let's see, that would have been 2011. Geez, that's crazy. It's 12 years ago already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane how quick time goes by.
Yeah.
I think the older you get, the faster time goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Definitely.
you've raced obviously at a lot of different tracks. What is your favorite late model, super late model track, and what is your favorite track to go to with the NASCAR trucks?
Yeah, so the late model side, I kind of go back and forth between Lacrosse and Kakana. Two great racetracks. That what I like about those two places, and there's a lot of options as a driver. Obviously, Kakana being so rough, there's different ways you can manipulate your driver inputs and how you use the brake pedal and different lines that you can use depending on what your car is doing to make it better. There's a lot of things that you can adapt to throughout the race, and Lacrosse is a lot of the same. It's not as rough, but there's a flat or an apron there, and you can use that to your advantage depending on what your car is doing to help make any condition that you have a little bit better. So I just like having options and being able to adapt to different situations and trying to make your race car better.
And then how about the truck side?
Truck side is, I would say Richmond. Richmond is, people say Darlington doesn't have a lot of grip and there's tire fall off, but I mean Richmond is 2.5 to 3 seconds, and the amount of trucks are so big and so heavy, and they're really not made to turn like a late model is, right? They're obviously a lot heavier. 3,500 pounds or so, or a late model is, 2,800 or so. You have to be so precise wherever you point that truck when you enter the corner or when you lift off the gas and touch the brake, wherever that truck is pointed is where it's going. So your corner truly starts when you lift, and you have to be so precise with your inputs there. It just rewards consistency. Um, me and for those of you that don't know Riley Stenjem, he's a good buddy of mine. We always call it standard deviation, right? How consistent can you be relative to how fast your car can go? So basically, consistency. How close of a lap time can you make the next one to the last one? And a lot of times, you may not have the fastest car, but if you can beat somebody else that may be a little have a faster vehicle than you, and if you can just be more consistent than them, a lot of times you can beat them. So that's something that I've always worked hard at, is just being consistent and hitting the same mark every single lap. And over a course of 70 or 80 lap run, being a half a tenth, if you take a half a tenth or even 300ths per lap for 70 or 80 laps, that turns into seconds on the racetrack, just being consistent. So that's something that I've always worked on, whether it be in real life or on iRacing, is just being super consistent. And a place like Richmond really rewards that. And it's a place where I haven't won yet in the truck, but we've run really, really well there the last 2 years. So can't wait to get back there next year.
You haven't really announced any of your super late model plans yet, and I know part of that is you guys are still kind of gelling it out. But if you had a perfect world, how much super late model racing would you be able to be packing in next year or 2024?
Sure. I think probably a similar amount of races, just probably less travel. It really took a lot out of our team. We were at these races with a lot of people that weren't familiar with our race team and how we do things, and that is not easy to do when you're going to an ASA race, when you're racing the best of the best, and you're going there with people who, I'm not saying that they're, didn't know what they were doing, because they did, but they, just not being integrated in our program. There's something to be said with having a consistent crew. When Chris, Craig, and Banks go to the racetrack, right, they're a step ahead of Toby all the time. And that's a huge deal when you go to these big races. So, yeah, just honestly, probably the same amount, just probably picking and choosing some of the bigger ones closer to home. Um, like I said, I don't think we'll be able to defend our ASA title. We have a couple overlaps that are going to be tough to make happen. So just going to pick and choose the best races for us and what works with the timing of our race team and my truck schedule. And but it should be, something normal, around 15 races again.
There's a rumor, and it is just a rumor at the time of this recording, which again is right before Christmas. There's a rumor that there might be some sort of a big bonus for somebody to run that Berlin race and then the Slinger Nationals. Is there a shot you think that you guys would ever go back to Berlin again? I know Toby hates that track, but I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, it's funny. So Toby didn't want to go there 2 years ago when we went, and I'm like, we'll be fine. Let's go, let's go. And now it's flipped. Now he wants to go and I don't. So, which is funny because that's how a lot of things happen between Toby and I. If you haven't noticed, we have a lot of fun together. It's honestly hilarious, the things that we do to each other to manipulate
Yeah.
one another into getting what we want. It's pretty funny.
Would you run that track again, though, Berlin? It's a pretty cool facility.
Would, if the right circumstances, we had the right help and everything, I would go back there. It is a nice facility. It's a weekday race. So yeah, I would.
Especially if there could be a bonus, if that comes to fruition, that there would be a bonus for winning both of those.
Are they close in dates, or they are? Okay,
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah. Food for thought. I just thought I'd plant the seed now.
Get everything out on the table. Figure out what we're gonna do. I'm excited for next year. I think we have a lot of good things going on. We've built new race trucks at ThorSport as always. Toby and I have feel like our super late model program is really good right now. After not being able to race as much in 2022, we I was able to focus a little bit more being back at home, just focusing a little bit more on the late model program and And we were able to race more and go to different racetracks and race the ASA competition consistently. You're always just you're only as good as your competition. So racing those guys on a consistent basis, I think made our program better. I feel pretty good about where we're at.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this final, well, it doesn't have to be the final question, but it is a question. In the Snowball Derby, you ran, I don't know what was it, 8 or however many laps side by side with Stephen Nasse, and you were holding your own on that outside groove. And then he gave you a good shove, and you kind of had to gather it back up. And then Bubba got underneath of you. Did you consciously decide to just let Bubba go because you thought there might be a cat fight up ahead of you there? Or what was your thoughts on that?
Well, here was my thoughts. So when we fired and I got an okay restart, it was even with him. And I cleared him for like maybe a corner, and he made sure that I didn't fully clear him, which is all fair game to me at the end of the snowball. And so we were side by side for multiple laps, and there was one lap, and you can see it in Bruce's video that he put up. There was a time where Bubba was racing the 28 car, and there was a hole to get down, and I lifted to let Nasse go, and his spotter said, "Watch a crossover, watch a crossover," and I knew this in when it was live that he backed up and basically let Bubba fill that hole so I couldn't get down and do a crossover. So at that point, I'm like, okay, now my only shot here is to try and race this guy on the outside because I knew there was a stack of 3 or 4 of them lined up behind Bubba at the time. And I'm like, okay, so we raced it out, race it out, race it out. And I'm like, man, when is this guy just going to do it? I was just waiting for it, right? I knew I wasn't probably going to just clear him on the outside. There was going to be contact, and he was going to make sure that he cleared me, which finally after 8 laps he did. And he cleared me off of 2, and Bubba filled the hole out of turn 2, and he got obviously was underneath me into 3. And I just didn't think at the time that my best chance to win was to race Bubba. I mean, really what I was planning on doing was I was going to let Bubba go, and I was hoping that Bubba could go and get Nasse and pass him, and I'd be able to pass Bubba past Nasse, and me and Bubba could race it out. And obviously something better happened. They ended up taking each other out. So it was planned to let Bubba go because if Nasse got out, um, the race was pretty much over for both of us at that point. So I thought that was my best card to play at the time, and it ended up working out.
Dang, that's a lot to be going through your head while you're driving so fast like that.
Well, I've been in this position, not just at the snowball, but in different positions and scenarios over the course of my career. Have the opportunity and blessed to have had good race cars and be in the mix at the end of a lot of these races. And yeah, everything just slows down. It's like, they talk about the game slowing down for an NFL quarterback. It's kind of the same thing when you're put into a situation over and over again. You're always thinking about the next move before it happens. You're trying to anticipate what the next guy is going to do. Just knowing, racing with Bubba and Nasse all these years, you pick up on their tendencies and how they race and what they like to do in different situations. And you try and think about all that when you're in different situations with them, to try and give yourself the best chance to win or pass them, or whatever the scenario may be. So there's always mind games going on. It's a chess match when you get 3 guys together that have been doing that, racing this long and together for so long. It becomes a kind of like I said, a little bit of a chess match and a mental game.
Part of the
Dang.
race reminded me of Mark Martin. It was early in the race when Bubba got inside of you going into 3 or whatever, and you just didn't run side by side with him for 3 or 4 laps. You just rolled out and just dropped right in line behind him, and that it was way too early to be running, I'm sure, to that like that.
Yeah, my younger years, I definitely would have done that. My older age, I'm a little more patient. I was in my younger years, I was a little spunky at times. That some things I'm not proud of, but everybody goes through that, right? It's just part of growing up and maturing as a race car driver. And I think over the years, I've learned that there's a time to push and race, and there's times not to. And yeah, I let Bubba go at one point in the race, and I think I let Nasse go that same run. And later in the run, here they come back to me. We had such a good long run car, and I knew that. And obviously when I got later in the race and was able to get the lead at one point, I knew, right, those guys were better than me in the beginning of a run. So there became to be a higher sense of urgency to basically keep those guys behind me as long as they could, push myself farther into that run, because I knew that the closer I could stay to them, the quicker they would come back to me. And that's exactly how that last long run went. When Nasty was leading, I actually started that run out leading him, and I fought him off for as long as I could. And he got out a little bit, but not far enough, and I was able to reel him back in. We were like inside of 25 laps to go at that point, and kind of had him teed up. Right, it was a long run. I could tell his car was starting to go away. My car was finally starting to come in, show its longevity, and thought we had the race won at that point. And I was not happy to see that last yellow come out, because I knew it was going to pretty much turn into a shit show at that point, and turn into a short run race, which we hadn't had a short run car to that point. We were good. It just wasn't quite as good as what they were at that point in the run. So the snowball's tough. It's interesting because the whole race is our long runs. And then 9 times out of 10, it comes down to a 15 lap dash at the end. So you've got to have a good enough long run car to maintain that track position, to put yourself in the game for the short run at the end. So I thought we did a pretty good job at having a good balance of that this year.
I did too. It was very exciting. I may have drank too much because I was very stressed out.
Two
Well, I
weekends
think
in a
that's what
row.
ended up getting me on the podcast, because I got the invite when you had some alcohol in you.
I did.
I guess that's what it took.
Oh, sugar. Well,
I would say
Ty, I
two
go
weekends
ahead.
in a row for you, because she
I
was
know.
looking pretty full after the Bigley race too.
You're a bad influence, Dan. That's why. You're
I'm
a
not the
bad
one that I
influence.
am not the one that started the night with beer. I just want to point that out.
You finished it though. Anyway, Ty, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us on here. We'll probably want you back on down the road at some point too.
I hope so. I mean, yeah, I'd love to be back on.
I kind of want to do one with you and Toby because I think that would be hilarious.
Well, that would be entertaining for sure. We could bicker for everybody to see live. So, yeah. Yeah,
Nothing like
Toby
a
and I, we
good.
go back and forth a lot about, setups and stuff. It's funny how we kind of manipulate each other, and it's funny. There's the running joke now is there's a set of shocks, these front shocks that I hate. They don't work at all. And usually when something doesn't work, we kind of just, okay, put it off to the side. But I swear Tobes is pushing these front shocks. Every time we go to the racetrack, he's got them set up and we have to run them. And I swear it's just because I'm being stubborn about them and I don't think they'll work. He just wants to make them work so bad to prove me wrong. It's pretty funny. So,
The two of you also do a lot of reverse psychology on each other,
well, we do
which
that too. When I know he's trying to get me fired up, I just kind of go along with it, patronize him a little bit. And yeah, he's like, "Oh, that didn't work, did it?" I said, "Well,
mm,
no, it didn't. You've been doing this too long."
but he does appreciate your friendship and
This
he
is what I
does.
say here when he wants to put those front shocks on right here. This is what I say to him.
I can't believe you printed that picture off. Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. Oh, Ty, you're a pistol. Thanks so much for joining us. Say
I
hi to
enjoyed it. Appreciate
Allie.
it. Yeah, anytime.
All right. And then go win. Go
All we
win.
do is win. That's the goal.
There we go. All right. Take care. God bless. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Dan.